In this lecture, we're going to be looking at those little chemical messengers in our body called hormones. Sometimes a hormonal imbalance is the missing link. I've had people say to me, but Barbara, I'm going to bed early, I'm drinking all my water, I'm exercising every day, I'm eating a plant-based diet. They're ticking all the boxes, and then when I investigate, I find out they have a hormonal imbalance. So what I'm going to do today is I'm going to begin by going through some of the symptoms of a hormonal imbalance. Then we're going to look at how the monthly cycle runs, then what throws it out, and we're going to finish by looking at what brings it back into balance. Because the body is ever trying to get a correct balance. You just need to give it the right conditions. So what about a female? Some of the symptoms of a female having a hormonal imbalance are early periods. Normal is 16 to 18, but you hardly ever hear that today. Obviously, there's always some exceptions to the rule, but on a whole, the average beginning of the menstruation traditionally was around 16. Today, we're getting young girls getting their periods at 9 years of age. If they get their periods at 9, they're starting to develop breasts at 8. That's far too young. Why would that be? Where's our why? Newton's third law of motion states that to every action there's an equal and an opposite reaction. In other words, there is always a cause. We're going to be looking at that this morning. Another symptom of a hormonal imbalance is very heavy periods, very painful periods. Also premenstrual tension. How many women and men think that's normal? I've got some good news today. It is not. And we're going to look at how that can be remedied. Also fibroids in the uterus, cysts on the ovaries, polycystic ovarian syndrome, polyps in the uterus, cervical polyps, cervical cancers, lumps in the breasts, fibrous tissue in the breast, breast cancer, uterine cancer. These can all be symptoms of a hormonal imbalance. Also, depression can be a symptom. Thyroid problems, also heart disease. These are some of the symptoms, probably the main symptoms of someone having a hormonal imbalance, a female. What about a male? With a male, low sperm count can be a symptom. Also, inability to hold an erection, it's called PD, penile dysfunction. The current figures in Australia are 50% of men over the age of 40 are struggling with this one. Also, prostate problems. Prostate problems is a result of a hormonal imbalance. Well, again, there are other factors that come into play, as you will see, but it's one of the main causes. Too much of the female hormone can cause a man to be effeminate, and too much of the male hormone can cause a woman to be masculine. I don't know what it's like in the US, but in Australia you're almost not allowed to talk about that, but I'm just giving you the science today. So what we're going to do today is we're going to have a look at what the hormones or how they're made. We're going to have a look at how the monthly cycle runs. Notice our sex hormones are made from cholesterol, very important lipid in the body. From cholesterol, the body makes pregnenolone. From pregnenolone, the body makes progesterone. Progesterone is a key hormone because from progesterone, estrogen is made, from progesterone, testosterone is made, and from progesterone, the adrenal hormones are made. We're going to look at the 21-day, or 27-day, I should say, cycle, 27 or 28-day cycle. We're going to look at it like a dance, because it is like a dance. Different players come onto the stage at different times of the month. And estrogen's going to be wearing a red outfit, and estrogen's role is that of a cell proliferator. Cell proliferator basically means causes massive cell growth. And it is estrogen that causes the skinny young girl to develop into a beautiful, shapely woman. But if the estrogen remains high, the beautiful, shapely woman can get out of shape the other way. Progesterone is the other player in our dance of the hormones today. And progesterone is going to be wearing a green outfit. Progesterone's role is that of a happy hormone. It's one of its... There's a few roles, as we'll see, but it's often called the happy hormone because of its ability to raise the mood. We have a saying in Australia, you may have it here, it's called happy wife, happy life. Is that right? I'd like to say happy wife, happy home. Many homes have an unhappy home because the woman has a hormonal imbalance and she's lacking progesterone. So let's begin at day 1 of the monthly cycle. At day 1 of the monthly cycle, this is the day that a woman begins to menstruate. Day 1 of the monthly cycle, the estrogen levels are low. Day 1 of the monthly cycle, the progesterone levels are low. So both hormones are backstage in that week that a woman begins to menstruate. But by the end of menstruation, around day 7, estrogen levels begin to rise. So by day 14, estrogen is now the star player in the dance of the hormones. What we're going to do now is we're going to go to the stage where the hormones are played out. And this is the reproductive area of a woman's body. This is the uterus, this is the cervix, this is the birth canal. These are the fallopian tubes on the side, so one on each side. But also down the bottom of the fallopian tubes, there are the ovaries. And the ovaries are connected to the uterus by a ligament. So they're the reproductive organs of a woman's body. At this time of the month, estrogen, with its cell proliferator action, is causing massive cell growth in the lining of the uterus, once again developing the blood nest, I call it. The tissue that lines the uterus is called endometrium. Massive cell growth is also happening in the ovaries, causing eggs to develop. A form of lubricant is also released in the birth canal. Now by day around 14 or 15, a fully developed egg bursts forth from the ovaries, and the little filaments on the end of the fallopian tube basically pick up the egg, and it moves up, up, up. The fallopian tubes are ever moving like that, causing that egg to move up. Now the hole where the egg bursts forth develops a blister, and that blister is called the corpus luteum. I have written it in green because corpus luteum is the main site of progesterone production in a woman's body. Can you see the importance of a woman ovulating every week? Because every month, when a woman ovulates every month, that's the release of the egg, corpus luteum's made. So when corpus luteum's made every month, then progesterone levels are maintained, and that's very important to keep the mood and also to keep balance of all the other hormones. So let's go back to our monthly cycle. So by day 14, with the development of corpus luteum, we've got a rise in progesterone levels. And because we have our egg, we have our blood nest, and we have our lubricant, estrogen's given the message and can go backstage now. So what effect does the rise in progesterone have? Progesterone has a ripening effect on the lining of the uterus, putting the finishing touches on the uterus. Progesterone also heightens a woman's mood at this time of the month to the point of increasing her sexual desire at this time of the month. But progesterone has another effect, and I'm going to draw it here. Here is the cervix. From side on, it looks like this gateway into the uterus. From top down, it looks like a little cushion. So it's a little soft cushion with a middle. And that middle contains a mucus plug. But at this time of the month, with the rise in progesterone, the lips come up a little tighter. The mucus plug releases, and a special form of lubricant is produced around the cervix, and that lubricant is designed specifically to facilitate the entry of sperm up into the uterus. So you can see that the stage is set for the entry of man. The sperm is the smallest cell in the human body, and with each ejaculation, between 200 and 500 million sperm are released with one ejaculation. But sometimes up to half of that comes out. So we're down to half, and if the sperm meet this cervix, it's very difficult to gain entry. If the sperm meet this cervix, this lubricant literally shoots it up into the uterus. and it's got a long journey. These sperm have a long journey. Some of them go down the wrong road and basically they die and they're taken away. But some of them go down the right road and aha, they've found their prize. I saw a photograph one day of 15 sperm all trying to gain entry into one egg. Now the surface of the egg has folds like this. And what the sperm has to do, it has to nestle its nose into one of those joins. It's not easy. Once it has gain entry, all the other folds shut tight and a chemical is released to kill off any other sperm that might try and gain entry. It's incredible what they know now about the human body. Occasionally, two sperm enter at the exact second. That's when the twins share the placenta. So what happens in pregnancy? The hormone levels change. Progesterone soars 200%. Don't we often say when a woman's pregnant, she's just blossoming? We have 3 estrogens in the body, only 1 progesterone. Estradiol is called E1. And estrone is called E2, and estriol is called E3. It is estradiol and estrone that have strong cell proliferator action, whereas estriol is often called the delicate estrogen, a little bit milder, and it is estriol levels that rise in pregnancy. Let me tell you something about sperm, because I think this is important to know and it is interesting. Sperm has an immune suppressant property. So when sperm enters a woman's body, it's an alien. And a woman's immune system will attack and wipe it out. So God put in the sperm, and actually it takes the immune suppressant property on when it goes through the prostate gland of a man. So when the immune suppressant property starts up, it's quite possible that the immune system can be knocked back. So there's a little bit of a battle there. Mm-hmm. And sperm would not survive if it didn't have that immune suppressant action. Can you see that? But the good news is woman's body has memory. So every time her husband's sperm enters her, her immune system rises, it sees familiarity. Oh, it's husband, we'll just stand back. But can you imagine how dangerous it can be in a woman that has multiple partners? And you can also see how dangerous it can be in the area of anal sex. It can really wipe out the immune system. So what causes the disruption? Before we look at what causes the disruption, if no conception happens, no pregnancy, then by tray 26, the levels are dropping both of progesterone and of estrogen. And when both those levels drop, the blood supply to the uterus is cut, and when the blood supply to the uterus is cut, then the blood nest comes away and we are once again at day 1 of the monthly cycle. That's how the cycle should look, but unfortunately today, not many cycles look like that. So our $1 million question is why? So let's have a look at what throws the hormones out of balance. 1957, the first contraceptive pill was introduced to women. The 1960s is called the sexual revolution. Women wanted to be able to have sex without having babies. And so the contraceptive pill was introduced. What is the pill? The pharmaceutical companies grow acres and acres of Mexican wild yam. In a laboratory, the plant chemical that's in Mexican wild yam is extracted. And in a laboratory, it's converted to progesterone. It's called progesterone because it has an identical molecular structure to the progesterone that the body makes. But the pharmaceutical company can't patent that. You know, they can't patent sodium bicarbonate either. So they have to change it. They have to create something else. So they come up with, they add a few more atoms to that progesterone and come up with synthetic estrogen. Add a few more atoms and come up with a synthetic progesterone. You see, in the early 1990s, it was acknowledged that estrogen is a known human carcinogen. And pill up until then was just straight estrogen. So by law they had to add some progesterone, but it's synthetic progesterone, so it really doesn't help a lot because it inhibits your progesterone uptake. So when these synthetic hormones, which are in the pill, are taken into the body, let me show you what's happening. So number 1 hormone should be progesterone, number 2 estrogen. Month after month on the pill, the body now thinks it's pregnant, so it doesn't release the egg. And if it doesn't release the egg, no corpus luteum's been made. So week after month after month, what's happening to progesterone? It's going down. A month after month with its synthetic estrogen, where's estrogen going? We've got a problem today, sadly too common. It's called estrogen dominance and progesterone deficiency. And it was Dr. John Lee that first blew the whistle on this. There have been some other doctors and authors that have also written about this. And he shows that now we have estrogen dominance. I liken estrogen to fire and water. Good slave, bad master. On 2019, I flew back into Australia, and when I drove onto our property, it was as black as black. I think you heard about the fires. We just thank God we didn't lose any buildings. That's why I say fire and water are a good slave, but it's a bad master. Same with estrogen. Now, we've got it as master. What effect is it having with its cell proliferator action? Fibroids in the uterus, cysts on the ovaries, polycystic ovarian syndrome, causing the endometrium to wander all through the abdominal wall. That's called endometriosis. 70 years ago, there was something like 100 cases worldwide. Today, there are 10 million alone in the US. And you will find it all rose around the time that the pill was introduced, because you can see how the pill disrupts the hormones. And a 25-year-old lady told me that she was just diagnosed with endometriosis. You see, when the blood nest falls away with the dropping of the hormones, these little pockets bleed, but they've got nowhere to go. And they have excruciating pain at period time, because all those little pockets have got nowhere to go, and the pain from that. This 25-year-old lady told me that her doctor said she'll be all right when she goes through menopause. Huh? 25 more years of pain and suffering. Or medicine can offer to diathermy, that's like burn them out. But if you don't turn the tap off, guess what? They're all going to come back. You've got to find the cause. So this cell proliferator action causing growths in the reproductive organs of the body, including the breasts, even to the point of breast cancer and also uterine cancer. A lady came and did our program. She had a lump in her breast 10 years ago, so she had both breasts removed, and they built 2 new breasts. Here she was at our retreat with breast cancer in the new breasts. If you don't find out the cause, it's going to come back. That's basic common sense. We're flipping into common sense now. See how we flip between Bible, history, science and common sense? Because God is the author of all of them, and you will find that they come together. That's how you can determine truth. But where's progesterone? Down here. How's the woman's mood the week before her periods? Watch out, she'll bite your head off. I said to one lady, do you get premenstrual tension? She said, no, I just hate my husband for a week every month. She's got it. How many people think it's normal? It is not normal. But also, going on a little bit further, then the person's diagnosed with depression. And it actually turns out to be just a hormonal imbalance. This is the cause of postnatal depression. This is the cause of premenstrual tension. There it is there. One writer in Australia, she claims that the pill has caused the mass murder of millions of women. So the woman's now going through menopause. You see, it was the baby boomers that it was first given to, is that right? The baby boomers are now late 50s, 60s, some into their 70s. They're going through menopause. How are they faring? They got hot flushes. High estrogen causes capillary dilation. The blood rushes to the skin. The husband knows because all the blankets get thrown off in the middle of the night and they get pulled on again. One lady said to me, Barbara, I'm a CEO of a large company. I'm in the middle of a board meeting and I get this huge flush. And I'm perspiring. She said, I can't handle it. So she said, I went to the doctor and he gave me hormone replacement therapy. She said, at least now I can give a meeting without this flash. I understand that. But what is hormone replacement therapy? It's more synthetic hormones, tricking the body once again into thinking it's pregnant. So instead of putting its energies to the skin, it puts its energies internally. 6 years later, the lady's got a lump on her breast. She goes to the doctor, it's breast cancer. He takes her off HRT immediately. Why does he do that? He knows. So you say to the physician, why do you do that if you know it can cause breast cancer? Here's his answer. He said she was suffering and it brought her relief. That's true. And not every woman will get breast cancer. That's true. But it's like playing Russian roulette. And if you say to the lady, well, here's your choice, breast cancer or hot flushes, what will she say?
Hot flushes.
I'll get a black lace fan. We had a lady last week, she had her black lace fan. But what you're going to hear today is a third. And that is you can balance those hormones around. The amount of women that have said within 1 month of implementing this balancing program, they're not having hot flushes anymore, or they've reduced by half. That's the good news. Some women have never been on the pill or HRT and yet they have an obvious hormonal imbalance. What causes a chicken to be fully developed in 5 weeks? Do you ever wonder? Is the growth stimulants? It's against the law to give growth stimulants in many areas now, so they genetically modified the chicken to produce more estrogen so it'll grow quicker. If it's in the chicken, it's in the egg. And in Australia, it's against the law for cattle farmers to give their cattle growth stimulants. But a cattle farmer's wife told me, she said, once a month they're knocking on our door, pushing the growth stimulants. And they tell you to stop the growth stimulant here, then it's not picked up in the blood test at the abattoirs. So meat and its products are also another source of hormone disrupting substances coming into the human body. Number 3, because I've met some people who are vegetarians, they've never had the pill, there's more. What causes plastic to be soft? And when I was 16, my brother was 18 and he got his first car. It was a Zephyr. And the dashboard was second hand. The dashboard was split. So he had turquoise fur on it and a cow that's head went up and down. That's real 60s, isn't it? Have you noticed dashboards don't split anymore? It's because they have a chemical in it called nonylphenol. And nonylphenol keeps the plastic soft. There's also bisphenol A, called BPA. Estrogen contains a phenyl ring, and that phenyl ring is the key that unlocks the door to get estrogen into the estrogen receptor site in the cell. So can you see that these plastics with their phenols in them have an estrogen effect on the body? So plastics. You can get BPA-free plastic, and you can also, usually the hard plastic, you can't squeeze it. So drink bottles should be hard plastic, glass, or the stainless steels. Plastics, also chemicals, and probably one of the worst chemicals. And the reason why it's the worst is because to kill the plant, it actually has an effect on the plant's hormones. It's called glyphosate or Roundup. The Sri Lankan government have banned Roundup or glyphosate because of the amount of rice farmers that were dying, and their children were showing traces of it. I know it was probably 2 years ago, made front lines in one of our big newspapers in Australia. 2 farmers, farmer and his wife, in their 70s, had both died of pancreatic cancer, and it was directly attributable to the Roundup. So what's the pancreas? It's actually part of our hormonal system. If you buy a potato and it's not organic, I can just about assure you it'll have Roundup on it, because they use Roundup to kill the top, you know, the top of the green top, because when that top dies, then they can harvest it. But absolutely, it's also, they've genetically modified so many plants to resist Roundup so they can keep spraying the fields. So herbicides, insecticides, I consider that they are just as much chemicals. One more point, clothes. Clothes can have chemicals in them if you're washing your clothes in a laundry detergent that contains chemicals. But there are 3 fabrics that are made really from plastic. One is polyester, acrylic, and nylon.